Hey up everyone and welcome to Political Nerds and this Red Alert broadcast live. I'm Steph the Alter Nerd, your nerdy political guide from Washington DC to Westminster and beyond. Now of course, before I jump into this, the usual disclaimer: do your own research, come to your own conclusions, and I'm not inciting hatred to anyone or particular group, religion, etc. So we're going to get into 3 topics today. Going to do something a little bit different with these Red Alert broadcasts. We're going to do a couple of stories. The first one is what happened over the weekend with that insane illegal immigrant manhunt. I'm going to go through all the information that you guys will have missed. And this is shocking. If you're not angry yet, buckle up, because you're going to be absolutely incensed by the time we're finished. Next up after that, guys, you can't despise Starmer enough. He has done something he is going to regret. He has announced funding for a certain situation. He's going to regret it. So we're going to get into that for the second topic. And then the third topic, the dog whistler is back. Labour have learned absolutely freaking naff all. Is anyone surprised? I know I'm not. Before we kick into the first main topic for today's Red Alert broadcast, if you haven't done so already, if you want more unfiltered, don't give an absolute shiz commentary about what's really going on here in the UK, then make sure you do subscribe to join our Alter Nerd tribe here at Political Nerds on YouTube. If you're watching on X, make sure you're following me at Steph Alter Nerd, because, yeah, I don't mince my words. I don't sugarcoat it. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. And, yeah, if the police want to knock on my door for alleged hurty words, yeah, I'd like to see him try. With that being said, yes, let's jump into the first topic for today's Red Alert broadcast. The main subject for today's stream. This shouldn't have happened. This should not have happened. In a million freaking years and beyond, this shouldn't have happened. Now, towards the end of last week, we all woke up to this freaking insane news that an illegal immigrant that had been found guilty, right, of sexually assaulting an underage British girl, right, was accidentally freed by the prison. Yeah. Oh, and it wasn't just any illegal immigrant, mind you, right? It was the illegal immigrant who, with what he did, essentially sparked what we now know as the illegal immigrant hotel protests that are now happening up and down this country as we speak. Yeah. If they were to release an illegal immigrant, that was like the worst one that they could have done accidentally, really, in the grand scheme of things. You see where I'm coming from there? Now, if you think that was bad enough, guys, it got worse. Because we then find out that he tried to return back to prison and the guards turned him away. He was like, hang on a minute, I don't think I should be released right now. And the guards were like, no, we're releasing you. It's all Gucci, it's all Gucci. Heads have got to roll on this. Heads have got to roll on this. Who do you think Starmer is going to throw under the bus for this one? Because the book stops with Starmer, but he obviously is not going to sack himself, right? Even though he should. You see, you then have, right, this delivery driver speaking to Sky News, saying that he spoke to the monster, because I'm not even saying his name, right? His name is not fit to pass my lips, right? He is a monster through and through. Now, this delivery driver said that he spoke to the monster outside of the prison and noted that the monster looked confused as he was guided to the nearest railway station by the prison staff. So, not only, right, did the prison staff turn round to him, to this monster, and say, oh, no, it's absolutely fine, it's absolutely Gucci, no, we're releasing you, it's all signed off, it's all good. Oh no, they also help him escape even more. They might as well have just given him a car and be like, go freaking nuts. Go nuts. Now, when we woke up to the news towards the end of last week, right, this illegal immigrant, this monster, was accidentally released from prison, right? The manhunt started, right? So they told us that he was spotted in Dalston, right? We then get an update from the police saying that the monster had been able to get onto a train and make his way from Dalston down to London, right? So why would he have gone down to London? London's like one of the biggest cities in the UK, if not the biggest. If you want to disappear somewhere, you go to London. So this monster wasn't stupid. And mind you, right, just as a side note, he gets a train to go down to London from Dalston. With what money? With what money? I'll tell you with what money. Our money. So not only does the prison service accidentally release this monster, but then this monster has access to funds, thanks to us, the taxpayers, for him to be on the run for as long as possible as a result. This is essentially a Benny Hill skit gone wrong. Gone drastically wrong here. You see, we then get further updates, right, to tell us that he's then seen making several journeys across London. Again, with what money? Our money. Yeah. As Sarah Poaching says right here. Where are the police? Here we go.
We don't know who's coming into this country anymore. This government has lost complete control. Do you know that when they come in, no DNA is taken, no biometrics are taken, absolutely no fingerprints are taken? I mean, you or I cannot get into the United States of America and soon to be Europe without giving our fingerprints and facial biometrics. But this lot can come
Neither
straight
can
in.
I as an Australian.
But this is the thing, right? Before we carry on with this clip, so no fingerprints are taken, no biometrics are taken of these illegal immigrants as they break into our country, right? Yet, just on a side note, Starmer's bumming digital ID right now. As hard as he bums Ukrainian rent boys, allegedly. This is a bad joke. This is a bad joke. They don't get fingerprinted, no bioscans, no nothing. Yet Starmer is trying to ram down our throats digital ID. Please make that make sense. Let's finish off the rest of this clip here.
I also had to give over all that information when I moved here.
So back to this guy. He's wandering the streets. He clearly is, like you say, bemused himself. But where are our police? Our police should be policing the streets. You know, we don't know who's coming into this country anymore. This government has lost complete control. Do you know that when they come in, no DNA is taken, no biometrics are taken, absolutely no fingerprints are taken? I mean, you or I cannot get into the United States of America and soon to be Europe without giving our fingerprints and facial biometrics. But this lot can come
Neither
straight
can
in.
I as an
I wanted to replay that because Sarah has a really, really good point there. Now, as Ben Habib calls out right here, it's just the utter incompetence of it all. Not a single illegal immigrant should be allowed into British waters, and every single one in the UK should be arrested, locked up and deported. Zero tolerance. For the sake of our women and children, do it. You see, for every moment he was free and on the run, we were in danger. He is a convicted sex offender of underage girls. Yeah. And they accidentally let him out. Now, a lot of people are turning around and saying, was it really by accident? There are a few conspiracy theories out there. Interesting how people are thinking that. That is for certain. And this is the thing, right? As the updates were coming through, he was spotted in Dalston, went down to London. Then he's spotted travelling across London, here, there and everywhere. Well, hang on a minute. Where was Sadiq Khan in all of this, right? Because as Councillor Matthew Goodwin Freeman says right here, notice how silent Sadiq Khan has been with a convicted sex offender, illegal immigrant on the run in London. Yeah. Now, David Lammy, we have idiots in the government. Exhibit freaking A, guys. He broke his silence about this on X, saying the following. I'm appalled at the release in error at HMP Chelmsford. We are urgently working with the police to track him down and have ordered an urgent investigation. Now, our favourite councillor, as far as I'm concerned, Councillor Susan Hall, says, and you should be appalled. If you were Conservative, your lot would be screaming resign. This is on your watch. It's within your responsibility. Damn right. This is why I said earlier on, heads have got to roll on this one. But do you think that the likes of Starmer is going to take responsibility and take the sword for it? No. Do you think David Lammy will? No. Do you think Shaban Mahmood will? No. No. They're going to blame it on a prison officer at the institution that he was held in, and their heads are going to roll instead. This is the thing. My understanding, in terms of when prisoners are released, is that it goes through a series of checks. And ultimately, for a prisoner to be released, right, even early, there has to be a sign-off from someone pretty freaking high up. And we're not talking about a standard prison officer here. We're talking pretty high up. We're talking, I would say, the freaking government itself at this point. So, when it does transpire that heads do roll, and it's a prison officer whose heads roll, right? It is smoke and mirrors. That prison officer, whoever unfortunately gets the blame, they're the sacrificial lamb. I'm telling you that right now. They will be the sacrificial lamb. That's going to be the person that the government's going to throw under the bus to save themselves. Disgusting, right? Now, moving forward, according to David Lammy, right, even though this monster escaped whilst he and the Labour dictatorship are in power right now, Lammy thought it was the best thing in the whole wide world to blame the Tories for him escaping. Check this out.
Why has this government failed in its first duty to keep citizens safe and the country secure?
Let us be clear. We inherited a collapsing prison system in which the last government was releasing people early.
They inherited a collapsing prison system. Okay, so when Labour came into power, right, the prison system was effed up. Let's be real here. Overcrowding to the hill, all that malarkey, right? Hang on a minute, though. The Labour dictatorship have been in power now for over a year. Been in power now for over a year. Has there been any emphasis, right, in their dealings in Parliament and whatnot to reform the prison service? Not to my mind, there hasn't. At all. What has the emphasis been in terms of their dealings in Parliament? Well, them trying to block the national inquiry into grooming gangs has been an emphasis. Most recently, there is a massive emphasis on trying to force digital ID down our throats, which, by the way, I will resist to the very bitter end on that BS. There has been emphasis on so much that we did not vote for, we did not want, and still do not want in this country. However, has there been any emphasis from the Labour dictatorship to try and reform the prison service over the last year since they've been in power? No. So, Lammy can try and blame Tories all they want. But It's not the Tories' fault that this monster escaped and was let out early, because it happened under Labour's watch, not the Tories' watch. Even if, you know, we take it as read, as I do, right, that the prison system's crumbling and it's nowhere fit for purpose, really, in the grand scheme of things, right? Even if we take that for read, which I would do anyway, that has nothing to do with the separate situation of a dangerous illegal immigrant being released early. This is David Lammy trying to pass the buck, saying it's not my fault, it's not my fault, it's the last administration's fault. I'm not falling for that BS, are you? David Lammy essentially needs to know when to shut the hell up, because he also said the following. We know he boarded a train and is at large in London. He should have been deported. Okay, so, yeah, you know he's boarded a train and is at large in London. We all knew that at the time. Never mind about what you know. Tell us what you're doing about it to catch the mofo. And it's all good and well saying he should have been deported. We've all been saying that before he even freaking pretty much escaped. We're saying it for everyone. Every single illegal immigrant that came here and broke into our country, back they go from where they came from. Deport the whole lot of them. Rupert Lowe takes that stance. I agree with him. I know a lot of you guys watching at home will agree with that as well. We're all saying it. Deport every last one of them before they even do any damage to us in the first place. It's too late for David Lammy to turn around and say he should have been deported. Too late for him to say that. Because he escaped at that point and was running riot in London doing who knows what. No. Instead of giving us platitudes of, we know where he is and he should have been deported, it should have been, yeah, we know where he is, but this is what we're doing about it. And yeah, he should have been deported. So we're going to learn from this situation and we're going to put in legislation and get it through Parliament to ensure that many more of these mofos get deported, this, that and the other. He don't believe that he should have been deported. He's just saying that as lip service, as far as I'm concerned. If he believed that he should have been deported, he would have then turned around and said, and backed that up by saying he should have been deported, he wasn't. That's on us. We're going to make this right, and we're going to make sure this doesn't happen again, and make sure that these guys get deported. But he don't say that. So what he says here means absolutely nothing to me. Now, yeah, he was seen in the Dalston area of Hackney, and this picture went absolutely viral with the avocado bag. Where did he get an avocado bag from? I mean, come on, right? He was seen in Chelmsford. Here's a clip right here that again went absolutely viral. Now, former Labour Home Affairs advisor Danny Shaw, this is a massive kind of L for Starmer here. Danny Shaw called this a massive political embarrassment and more right here.
It's a massive political embarrassment. It's also a security concern because this man carries risk. The judge, I think, at his sentencing said that he was at risk of reoffending. He's on the sex offenders register for 10 years. He's on a sexual harm prevention order for 5 years. He still had 3 months in custody to serve, and he should have been deported. So from every angle, it's a terrible blunder, a terrible mistake by the prison service to release this man. And it really is emblematic of how dysfunctional the criminal justice system is, and how the interaction between the criminal justice system and the immigration system just doesn't work, and it hasn't worked for many, many years. The sort of the arrangements between the two are really, really poor, and you know, people might have forgotten, but the release of foreign national prisoners without being considered for deportation actually led to the resignation of a Home Secretary back in 2006, Charles Clarke. He had to resign, might have been 2007, forgive me. he had to resign because over 1,000 foreign national prisoners were released from jail without even being considered for deportation. So that's how serious it gets. I don't expect that David Lammy will be forced to quit over this.
And this is why I said earlier on, heads have to roll on this. And it goes right to the top. The book ultimately stops with Keir Starmer, and his head should roll, but it won't. He's protected. Any other Prime Minister would have resigned by now. But not Keir Starmer. Why is that? Issue after issue after issue, scandal after scandal after scandal. Just one of those scandals that's happened just over the last couple of months would have absolutely killed off one Prime Minister in the past. But not Keir Starmer. Who the frick is protecting that evil son of a bitch? I'm telling you. Who is protecting him? Because any other Prime Minister would have been forced out by now. But not Starmer. Why is that? His head should roll. Lammy's head should roll. Not going to happen, is it? Let's go back to this clip here.
But it's hugely embarrassing for the government, because if there was one prisoner who you thought the authorities would go out of their way to make sure that all the rules were in place, that all the checks were carried out, that he was serving his sentence in accordance with what he should be doing, and that he would then be transferred to immigration custody and deported. There was one prisoner you thought that would be, copper-bottomed. It would be Hadush Kibatu. And
it is quite...
believe he's been let out.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, this is the moment that he was eventually caught, from what I could tell right here. This was shared on X by Ashley Simon. So the public had to find the monster because the police are useless. Information from the public led officers to Finsbury Park, and following a search, they located him. He was detained by police but will be returned to custody of the prison service. Now, Keir's reaction to him getting caught. Let's go through the reactions, because the reactions are just as insane, right? Given that the book stops with these people and they're still in power. This is insane. So, Keir Starmer says the monster, because again, I'm not saying his name, has been arrested and will be deported. Officers have worked quickly and diligently to bring him back into custody. We've ordered an investigation to establish what went wrong. We must make sure this doesn't happen again. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is an insane reaction is because Keir Starmer's turning around and saying he's been arrested and he will be deported. Yeah. How? Because all that monster has to turn around and say is sending me back to my home country is going to infringe on my human rights. And the judge is going to roll over and be like, yeah, okay, you can stay. In order to make sure that these monsters get deported, right? And even the rest of the illegal immigrants that may not have caused any illegal acts other than breaking into this country illegally, but you know where I'm coming from there. All of them should be deported. But as soon as they cry it infringes on their human rights, they get to stay. Why? Because we're still part of the European Court of Human Rights. The only way, right, I take that comment seriously from Starmer turning around and saying that this monster will be deported is if in the same breath Starmer turns around and says, and we're going to make sure of that by leaving the European Court of Human Rights. Because when the European Court of Human Rights was first set up, yeah, it made sense, right? For me, anyway. But the world has changed. The world has evolved. The European Court of Human Rights, it's not evolved and changed with the current landscape that we're in right now. As a result, we've got monsters and the illegal immigrants that, again, have broken into this country illegally, but then, haven't committed any further illegal acts. Let's be real here on that. But we've got all of them taken advantage of the European Court of Human Rights and taken advantage of the law and the loopholes. The European Court of Human Rights is being used in a way that it wasn't intended to be used in this way in the first place. You break into a country illegally, you get deported back. Regardless of your human rights, you broke the law by coming into this country illegally in the first place. Our human rights as native Britons should come first. But again, you know, as we heard from the government a couple of months back, they admitted in court, and they admitted on freaking national TV as well, Minister Bridget Phillipson, human rights of illegal immigrants are more pertinent, more important than ours. So yeah, Starmer can turn around all day and say he will be deported. Do you know what? I'm not going to freaking hold my breath. Monster's going to turn around, scream it infringes his human rights if we send him back, and he's not going to be sent back then. We're left as a taxpayer to fund him for the rest of his life, even after his sickening attack on an underage British girl. Now, David Lammy, of course, let's go to his reaction to the monster getting caught. Very, very similar to Starmer's. Very copy and paste, right? Monster's being arrested, now in custody, will be deported. Same thing. Won't believe it until I see it. Won't believe it until they say in the same breath, and will be deported by making sure that we remove ourselves from the European Court of Human Rights. Because the European Court of Human Rights is part of the reason why this country is being freaking killed off at this point and overrun by illegal immigrants. Them turning around and saying he'll be deported, it's empty words at this point. Empty words. Thanks to everyone involved, already ordered immediate strengthening of release checks and a full investigation into what went wrong. Again, very similar to what Keir Starmer has said here. Very copy and paste. Let's go to Shaban Mahmood, our joke of a Home Secretary at the moment. I'd like to thank the Met, Essex Police, blah, 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 who hunted down and found the monster. Again, he will be deported as quickly as possible. Yeah. He won't. Check this out. In the future, there's going to be an update to this story. Government tried to deport him. We let him stay. The judge let him stay because it infringes human rights in some way, shape or form. He might turn around and say, I prefer the chicken nuggets here in the UK rather than abroad. That's a real story, by the way. He might turn around and try and play gay. He might turn around and say, well, because of what I was done for in the UK, when I get back to my home country, my life's in danger. Well, he shouldn't have done it in the first place. Tough. You might accuse me of being heartless with that comment. I don't give a shiz. I don't give a shiz. I am a victim of child sexual abuse. I was repeatedly raped and molested when I was younger, when I was a little girl. I have no time whatsoever for disgusting, evil monsters. And if there is any chance that we can get rid of them and send them back to the country where they came from, oh yeah, I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. I'm not going to cry any tears over that. I'll be there freaking helping them to freaking back. Now, earlier on, we were asking, well, where's Sadiq Khan in all of this, right? Where's Sadiq Khan in all of this? Because he escaped down to London, right? But Sadiq Khan didn't pipe up once, not from what I could tell anyway. Well, he did react to the monster getting caught. Thanking the officers, blah, blah, blah. This was a complex and fast-moving operation. I'm grateful for their hard work and also to the public for their assistance. Complex and fast-moving operation. How complex could it really be? Just asking. I think that's just a platitude there. It was very simple. They accidentally let a monster go early. For whatever reason, who freaking knows at this point? We knew it was in London. London is one of the most heavily freaking CCTV'd place in this country, on earth, right? All you got to do is look at the CCTV. As soon as he crops up, then you're just following him at that point. You're just following him at that point. Easy. Done. But Sadiq Khan's trying to flower up, saying it was complex. Oh, is that his reason why a monster was loose in his city and wasn't caught for like 2 days? Is that his reason? Oh, he wasn't caught any sooner, guys, because it was such a complex investigation. Is that what he's trying to say? I won't put it past him. Because of course, guys, they are all bullshizzers. Because guess what? The release of prisoners accidentally actually happens more often than we realised. Now, before we go any further, let's have a gander at what you guys are saying in the chat so far, as we're just over halfway through. So let's have a gander at this point. So Rule Britannia says it's senior officers' duty to release prisoners. Yeah, but there's got to be, from my understanding, if you're going to be releasing a prisoner early, there has to be someone that's high up outside of that prison. Right? The Ministry of Justice. Someone from there to sign off for such a high-profile prisoner to be released early. Because this is the thing. This wasn't just any freaking prisoner that was released early. This was a high-profile prisoner. An illegal immigrant that, based on his disgusting, evil actions against a British little underage girl, sparked the illegal immigrant hotel protests in Epping that then spread like wildfire across the UK. This was a high-profile monster in prison. You think they're just going to let freaking Joe Bloggs at the prison to sign off his release early? No. No. It's got to be someone from the Ministry of Justice to do that for such a high-profile prisoner. The Ministry of Justice is involved in some way, shape or form with this. I am freaking certain of it. In my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever. Negu Mums Against the Child Snatchers says they're all good at screwing up, then talking absolute balls. Yeah. Yeah. AJ_West Croydon says, Steph, keep it up. Loves watching you. You say it as it is. Loving it. Thank you. Well, there's over 240 of you watching so far this Red Alert broadcast. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button to join our Alter Nerd tribe here on Political Nerds on YouTube. If you're watching on X, make sure you're following me at Steph Alter Nerd for more Red Alert broadcasts, because I'm enjoying these broadcasts a lot, being able to give you this information live, but also interact with you guys at the same time. So you're going to see more of these broadcasts, I promise you. So let me know in the live chat who has subscribed to this channel today, who is new to the Political Nerd community. Oh, let me know. Kathy Olney, oh, that's really cute of you to say. Great job, Steph, getting this information to the people. Thank you so, so much. But yeah, we're going to get on to the information that you guys may have missed at this point, because releasing prisoners early accidentally is happening more than we actually realise. And guys, as I felt like something was in my gob then. But no, it was just my tongue. Anywho, this isn't the first time that they've let an illegal immigrant out early accidentally as well. This isn't the first time this has happened. Stay tuned. I've got the freaking receipts. You should be angrier. You should be... You're angry? I get it. I'm angry too. We should be more angry. We should be angrier. You have no idea. Stay tuned. Let's look at a couple of other comments before we get back to the story. Let's see. Exactly, Dan. It was the public that caught him. The public caught him, called the police, and then they arrested him. But all the reactions that I've gone through, all those politicians, they've thanked the authorities and whatnot, but they've not thanked the public for helping as well. Yeah, because we don't matter. Good to get that confirmation finally, right? We always suspected. Let me leave it on this before we get back to the story, because this snaps and claps to Alice in Wonderland 68. Nice way of saying that, how you spelt it there. Impressive. It says, are we sure we can trust the authorities to keep him in custody, or will he be made Home Secretary next week? You never know. You never know. I mean, David Lammy's in government. If he can, why not? Why not? So yeah, let's get back to the story here. Keep your comments coming. I'll get back to you guys shortly. But yeah, of course, the Labour dictatorship, they're all bullshizzers. Because this is happening more often than we realised. Exhibit A, thanks to Advance UK, 262 criminals were accidentally released from custody last year. That's one every working day. You do not accidentally let predators walk free. That happens when a system has collapsed and no one is held accountable. Advanced Sarah is absolutely right. Britain's justice system is broken. Let's hear her right now.
Of course, the other part of this story is that we've heard from an eyewitness who said actually Kabatu not only waited outside the prison, he went back and waited there for 90 minutes before the prison guards told him to get on a train somewhere. I mean, it's completely bonkers, isn't it?
It's almost like they wanted this to happen. Do they want to create civil unrest? Because it's too much of a coincidence that it was that guy. You know, how is it nobody else in the prison that was released? It just so happened to be him. And like you say, he waited around for a long time and nobody thought, oh, hold on, he's not supposed to be released. He's supposed to be being deported. What did they think? He was going to make his own way to be deported? Take himself to Stansted? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Now, former prisoner governor John Podmore, he spoke out about this whole ordeal. And here we go. He says the following right here.
Hundreds of accidental releases over the past year alone. You seem to imply that the issue of deportation was an added complication, whether it was for the deportation order or for whatever reason. So does the fact that Kabatu was meant to be deported, do you think that made it more likely that this mix-up happened?
Well, ironically, it should have made it less likely, because it should have been clear from day one that he was going to be deported. So there was no question of release at any point. And also, you know, one has to ask, given that he was such a high profile, I mean, clearly the interest in the case is a reflection of that high profile, that senior leaders and governors in the prison should have been sort of monitoring the situation with him on a fairly regular basis. If I'd have been the governor, if I'd have been the director of operations for the prison service, I'd have been saying on a regular basis, you know, where is this man? Have we got the deportation order? When is he going? When is he being removed? How is he being removed? There should have been particular interest in this case. But no, ironically, it should have made things easier. There should have been no question of a £76. There should be no question of him going out in prison-issue clothing, carrying a plastic bag.
And I've got to agree with Adam Brooks here on X, right? Because he says that this monster needs to see out his prison sentence, then immediately be deported back to Ethiopia, where he allegedly comes from. He says, I hope our government conveys the message to them that he is a dangerous case. I'm relieved for the victims and families today. This was an upsetting couple of days for them. Damn right it was. Now, this is the thing, right? Going back to Keir Starmer's reaction to this monster getting caught, right? Saying that they'll make sure this doesn't happen again. Thing is, they already are. As I mentioned, they are releasing hundreds of monsters like him from jail. I've shown you the receipts for that. And there's more receipts coming. Stay tuned. As Robert Jenrick says right here, guys.
2 days after a paedophile illegal migrant, Hadush Kabatu, was accidentally released by the authorities, the police have finally found him. Starmer says that he is appalled that this vile sex offender was loose on our streets. That's odd, because thanks to Starmer's own reforms, sex offenders like this will never go to jail in the first place. There will be hundreds of kibatus, and they'll be coming to a street near you. 2 days after a paedophile...
Yeah. And essentially, when it comes to illegal immigrants, Chris Phillips says it best in this post here on X, saying that this case shows why we need to end illegal immigration. Only an immediate removals deterrent will do this. Absolutely. Because, guys, as I've said before in this stream, in this Red Alert broadcast, this is not the first time an illegal immigrant monster has been accidentally released from jail. It's not. The government can turn around and say, you know, we're going to get down to the bottom of it and make sure it don't happen again. Guess what? This time that's just happened was the time that it happened again. Because this has happened originally a couple of freaking years ago, right here. So prison authorities in 2023 were duped into freeing a con man after a fake email from the Royal Courts of Justice said he should be released on bail. So the monster who was accidentally released on Friday was actually not the first person, but the second person to be freed by mistake. The second illegal immigrant to be freed by mistake in the UK. Get your heads around that one. Does Starmer want a freaking civil war? Is he begging for this? Because time and time again, blunder after blunder, issue after issue, scandal after scandal. We're getting angrier. We're getting more pissed off. We didn't vote for this. We don't want this. We're still trying to ram it down our throats. I'm done. I'm done with this nonsense. So 2 years ago, right, the first time an illegal immigrant was accidentally released was 2 years ago. The jail authorities were duped into freeing a con man after a fake email from the Royal Courts of Justice said he should be released on bail. Junaid Ahmed was awaiting a sentence after admitting posing as a doctor to rent a house he couldn't afford and buy a home worth more than £2 million. He was released from Chelmsford prison when I could get my teeth back in. Strolled out the main door and he was free for 2 days back in June 2023. Yeah. It's understandable. The last weekend, we were angry. We were absolutely pissed. This illegal immigrant was released accidentally from jail. And not just any illegal immigrant. The one that essentially has kick-started all the illegal immigrant hotel protests that are now spanning across this country. But we should be angrier. It ain't the first time this has happened, that they've done this to us. One of the main pillars, right, of a government is to protect its citizens, protect the native population. In other words, one of the first pillars of Keir Starmer's dictatorship should be to protect us, the British natives. I don't see that happening. Do you? Now, before I get to more of your comments and we get on to the next story for today's Red Alert broadcast, for this particular segment, I want to leave the last word with this woman right now. Here we go.
This is great. Another young girl, young mother, 23 times stabbed at the train station by an asylum seeker. Do you know what? I hold this on Starmer and Khan. Nobody else, because they know they're letting in these nutcases. They know exactly what they're doing. Do you know what? Why the fuck Don't you two let your children out on the streets. Let them go out and experience what we've got to live with every day, you disgusting pair of men. And give your jobs up. You're making a fool of yourself. You're making a fool of our country. Why don't you just go, the pair of you? Have a bit of dignity. Well, you can't have dignity because it's going to show exactly what you are. Take the fucking dirty, rotten asylum seekers and go and live with them. Because you, Starmer, are clearly an absolute Muslim lover. You put everything before your own people. You're the most hated man, hated in this country, and it's going around the world. We're being offered to emigrate to places to get away from you. You little pillock. What you've done allowed another mother to die because of your incompetence. You don't want to know anything about the boat people because you know the trouble you're going to get in over it. Go and resign or somebody gets you out because you will be going. Without a doubt, you'll go some way or the other.
Couldn't have said it better myself, guys. Couldn't have said it better myself. With that being said, let's go through a few of your comments before we get on to the second topic for today's Red Alert broadcast. Love the live, Steph. Keep them coming. Oh, they're coming. They are definitely coming. Let's see. P. Dale says, how can they accidentally release a prisoner? LOL, no way. This is why I say there's a growing corner that's actually turning around and saying that there's a conspiracy here. They can't just accidentally let him leave. There was a bigger plan. I'm not too sure, but there's a certain quarter that's thinking that. There you go. Aldo RFC WATP says they wanted him to escape. Okay. Do you know what? I'm going to do a poll. Do you think the monster was released from jail on purpose? All right, so I'm going to start this poll right now. There's over 300 of you watching. Please vote in this poll right now. Do you think, right, this illegal immigrant monster was released from jail on purpose? Yes or no? If you think he was released by accident, if you believe the official line, then you'd vote no. If you don't believe the official line, if you don't believe he was released accidentally, and if you think he was released on purpose, for whatever reason, then vote yes. I want to see how many of you watching right now are thinking this. Because I'm seeing a couple of comments where people are like, dude was released on purpose. No way was this accidental. And I'm seeing a couple. But at the moment, I've got this kind of viewpoint of there's only a couple of people thinking this. Is it actually more than I realise that's thinking this, that it was released on purpose? Vote in the poll. Let me know. What is the landscape? What are you guys generally thinking? Let's see what else you guys are saying before we get on to the second topic. Jane says the UK government should deport that monster now. I'd say why not? I would say why not? Stop wasting any more tax money on him because we're still paying for him in prison. You know what? Let's save ourselves a bit of money and let's deport him back from where he came from. I'd be fine with that. I'd be absolutely fine with that. Country at boiling point. It'll kick off soon and there will be no going back. Yeah. Which is why I ask, out of all of this, in terms of what happened over the weekend, does Starmer want a freaking civil war? Because the way things are going, I am scared. I am scared it is heading in that direction. I hope it doesn't. I hope we don't reach to that point. But I see it. I see this path we're on, and I am scared that the end destination at the moment is a civil war. And the Labour dictatorship is doing nothing to stop that from happening. Nothing. Let's see. Sadistic Atheist says, Sadiq Khan says that he doesn't know what grooming gangs are. Stay tuned for tomorrow's Red Alert broadcast, because I've been keeping an eye on the whole grooming gang, Sadiq Khan situation. And again, I've got some information for you guys that you guys may have missed in all of that. It's absolutely insane how Sadiq Khan has got away with this for so long. This is years. And you guys might remember, for those that have been here long enough, I did an amateur linguistic analysis video on a kind of interaction between Sadiq Khan and your favourite councillor, Susan Hall, where Susan Hall was asking Sadiq Khan about what he was doing in London to try and combat the grooming gangs. And Sadiq Khan's turning around and saying, give me the definition for grooming gangs. What's grooming gangs? I don't know what grooming gangs are. He was trying to play dumb, right? I did an amateur linguistic analysis on that, and everything that has come out since, let's put it this way. Watch that video that I did, analysing the linguistics in terms of that particular interaction, because unfortunately, I might have been a bit spot on. Let's put it that way, guys. So there we go. MPNG Creed Menace, thank you so much for the £3 super chat. Appreciate your face with the fist bump. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for the super chat. Also as well, MLS. Hey up, MLS. How's it going, my friend? Thank you so much for the $9.99 super chat saying, sometimes people want to justify bad things, but sometimes bad things just happen. Although they are consequences of other prior acts, it doesn't mean there's a conspiracy. Exactly. But at the same time, MLS, we're talking about the Labour dictatorship here. And trust, when it comes to the Labour dictatorship, is at an all-time low. It really is. Keir Starmer is the most unpopular Prime Minister in history at this point. Seriously. And so I am not surprised that people are not believing the official narrative on this, that he was accidentally released. That some people are believing that this was done on purpose. That this was like a red flag kind of situation. To what end? If we're to go down that rabbit hole, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I'm not surprised that people are not trusting the official line on this. I'm really not. The Labour dictatorship has lied time and time again to us. We've learned not to trust them anymore. Now, let's have a look at the poll so far. So, 108 of you have voted so far, and there's 300 of you in the chat. So please, if you haven't voted, use your vote right now in the live chat. Do you think that this monster was released from jail on purpose? 90% of you are saying yes. You do believe he was released from jail on purpose. And 10% of you are saying no, he wasn't released from jail on purpose, that it was an accident. So 10% of you are believing the official party line. 90% of you are not. Very, very interesting. All right, guys, I'm going to get on to the next topic right now. For those that are able to, please consider sending some super chats my way. It just helps me continue with this channel and give you guys the information that you guys need to know that's not sugar-coated. I'm just going to tell you as it is, right? Hurty police crime squad be freaking damned as far as I'm concerned, right? Because as we all know, we've got human rights too. It's not just illegal immigrants that have human rights. We have human rights too. And I have the right to freedom of expression. As long as I'm not inciting hatred to anyone, a particular group, religion, etc. and all that malarkey, I'm all right. And I am all right. So let's crack on, because guys, you cannot despise Starmer enough. You really, really can't. You think you despise him enough, and then he does something else, and it's like, shiz the freaking bed. Why are you not gone right now? Why aren't you resigning? Why are you still here? We don't want you anymore. Bugger the frick off, right? And guess what? He's going to regret this. I'm sure of it. He's going to regret this. So the Home Office over the last couple of days, right, announced an additional £10 million in funding, not to protect the Jewish community, who was attacked by a Muslim extremist a couple of weeks back. Nope. This additional £10 million is to protect the Muslim community themselves. Yep. Now, before we go any further, of course, the usual disclaimer, do your own research, come to your own conclusions, and I'm not inciting hatred to anyone or particular group, religion, etc. But this announcement from the Home Office, of course, as far as I'm concerned, has garnered a lot of justified criticism. So here we've got Sammy Woodhouse turning around and saying, children have endured hate and threats of violence from the Muslim community for decades when they were groomed, tortured, trafficked, unalived, RAPED, apologies, YouTube human reviewer, there's certain things we can't say, otherwise they try and limit our live streams, okay? So apologies for that. Sammy then says, they and their families continue to be intimidated. How much will you spend on them? Or will you just continue to call them far-right, racist and Islamophobic? There's so much emphasis, right, on protecting the Muslim community. How about protecting the victims of the predominantly Muslim Pakistani grooming gangs? Where's that emphasis? Sammy's right. She's right. And this, guys, is why this decision is making a lot of us feel sick to our stomach, right? As World by Wolf says right here on X, they blow up our children at concerts. And this is Islamic extremists, right? They blow up their parents on buses and trains on the way to work. They bloodstain our capitals' bridges. Islamic extremists make up 75% of MI5's terrorism caseload, etc. Then we have to pay the Muslim community protection money. A sick and treacherous disgrace. What do you guys think to that? Do you agree? Now, of course, right, two-tier Keir had to jump in on this, tweeting out the following. We will not tolerate attacks on our Muslim communities or any form of anti-Muslim hatred. How about this? We won't tolerate any attacks from the Muslim community to the native British community. We won't tolerate any attacks from the predominantly Muslim Pakistani grooming gangs to our underage British little girls. Or how about we won't tolerate attacks on our Jewish community from Islamic extremists and Hamas sympathisers? How about that? Oh, no. We can't say any of that because that's going to be considered in some way, shape or form as Islamophobic and hate speech. Even though what I've just said is absolutely 100% true as far as I'm concerned. Now, Nick Dixon, in response, right? So he asks a very important question here on X. Where was this energy over Southport? Yeah. At what point will you label these people with the worst smear you can think of, like you did to concerned British people then? The grotesque two-tier approach is why you are the most hated Prime Minister of all time. Furthermore, this two-tiered approach is why there is a high distrust in this Labour dictatorship and a high distrust in the cabinet and a major high distrust with our own Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. Now, of course, our very own Muslim Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, she also had to jump into this. And she mentions the following on X. Muslim communities should never have to live in fear. An attack on any community is an attack on us all. We're investing £10 million to protect Muslim communities from hate, intimidation and violence. Let me put it this way to you guys, right? I know, right, and I have lived in cities where there is a high Muslim population. I've lived in places where there's a high Muslim population, right, in the past. Let me put it to you this way, guys. The Muslim community in those areas, I promise you this right now, they're not living in fear. I promise you this right now. They are not living in fear. They're not. Not to the extent that Shabana Mahmood is trying to make out right here. They're not living in fear. Not a chance in hell they're living in fear. I'm telling you that right now. They're not. Trust me on that. I got experience. They're not living in fear. Now, amongst others, right, here we have Tony on X slamming Shabana Mahmood with the following. Dear Shabana Mahmood, 5 years ago, MI5 disclosed they were monitoring 40,000 people of concern who were linked to extreme Islam. 90% of the terror threat we face is Islamist. It's not the Muslims that are in fear, it's us. Exactly. Like I said, I have lived in the past in areas where there is a high level Muslim population. They're not living in fear. They're not. Trust me on this. Trust my experience. They're not living in fear. We are. We are. Who makes up the majority of the terror watch list? From which group, from which religion are the majority of terrorist attacks on our shores happening from? And I'm just asking for a friend here. But I think I'm proving my point. It's us, the native British, that are living in fear. Who makes up the majority of victims of the grooming gangs? It's not underage Muslim children, that's for sure. So which community is really living in fear here, right? Because whenever we speak out against Islam extremists, it's Islamophobic, it's this, it's that, it's the other. We're demonized. But when Islamic extremists speak out against us, right? Say how we should have our throats slit under Sharia law. How we should be punished under Sharia law, this, that, and the other, right? When Islamist extremists and their imams are saying awful things about us native British people, right? And the punishment that we should somehow have to experience. Nothing happens to them. They don't get arrested for hate speech. At all. They're allowed to go on their daily business, preaching that disgusting, nasty shit. So again, which community is really living in fear here? The Muslim community or us? It's us. It's us all day long. Now, Nick Buckley, MBE, makes a really good point here, right? Can anyone name any violence towards the Muslim community? Nope. Nope. There was that attack on the Muslim mosque a couple of weeks back, but then we find out that it was a Muslim that attacked the mosque. Right, okay. Can you name any violence from the Muslim community? Oh, we'd be here for days. We'd be here for days. Now, speaking of, right, attacks against religious institutions, This all springs to mind, right? The Manchester synagogue terrorist attack that happened a couple of weeks back. You see, back then, the Labour dictatorship tried to jazz their response up, saying, right here, that they were going to provide record funding to protect Jewish communities. Now, how much was that record funding? The same as they've just now given to protect Muslim communities, £10 million. How can this be record funding when they're giving the Muslim communities the same amount at £10 million? And if anything, this isn't record funding to the Jewish community at all. At all. Because this is the thing, right? Check this out. I would rather the 100 let me get this right. I would rather, when I get my teeth back in, I would rather the £111 million we've just sent to Pakistan to go instead towards protecting the Jewish community here in the UK. And yeah, you've heard me right. We have just sent £111 million to a Muslim country, to Pakistan. And you'll never guess for what. Family planning. Why is it our financial responsibility as taxpayers to fund another country's family planning scheme? Why? The government, the dictatorship are crying about this financial black hole that the Tories left them in, right? Well, they're digging that black hole deeper, the Labour dictatorship, by sending money to foreign countries that shouldn't be sent to them in the first place. Oh, and guess what, right? So they announced that they're going to be giving 10 million, right, to protect the Muslim community. And they gave the same to the Jewish community, right? But guess what, right? Again, I'm just asking for a friend here. But last year, the Home Office, under the Labour dictatorship, announced that they were committing £117 million over the next 4 years to boost security for mosques, faith schools and community centres, saying we'll always ensure that UK Muslim communities feel safe, confident and reassured. Okay, so here's my question. If they've already given the Muslim community £117 million to be spent over the next 4 years to protect them, this, that and the other, why the freaking deuce are we all of a sudden giving the same Muslim community an extra £10 million on top? We've already given them £117 million to protect themselves. Why do they need all of a sudden a year later another 10 million on top? Again, I'm just asking for a friend here. Has this £117 million, has this amount already been spent in the first year? Because this 117 million is over 10 times more than the record-breaking £10 million that the government gave to the Jewish community to protect themselves in the wake of the Manchester synagogue terrorist attack. This is insane. Before we continue, a couple of thank yous. Abatha_X, thank you so much for the £5 super chat saying, balls to the walkie-talkie mob and two-tier policing society. Down with Keir, the traitor Starmer. Yeah. Mic drop Lisa, thank you so much for your continued support of being a political warrior, saying, oh, I get to share this again. Yay! Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone so far that's been able to send a couple of super chats my way. It definitely helps me being able to continue with this channel and give you the information that you guys need to know when it comes to the state of the UK, some of which you don't even realise I don't know in the first place. So if you are able to support me and help me continue in my mission to giving you guys the information you need to know without it being sugar-coated, saying it as it is regardless, then please do consider sending me a super chat. If you can't, not to worry. Make sure at the very least you have subscribed to this channel and you thumbs up this live stream right now. In the meantime, let's get back to this, because getting back to the £10 million, right? The government has given to the Muslim community on top of this 117 million that they gave last year, right? This is the thing. This is what Turning Point says about it all. Turning Point UK. Arif Ali Rafiq, a British-born Asian man, was charged with attempted arson against a mosque in in Northampton. So is the extra funding for the Muslim community to protect them from other Muslims. So on top of the 117 million that our government gave the Muslim community last year to spend over the course of 4 years for their protection, this, that and the other, have they just been given an extra 10 million to protect them from other Muslims? As Turning Point UK ends there. Interesting indeed, right, guys? You see, I mentioned before, right, that there's clips of Islamic extremist clerics and imams saying the most awful things about us, the British natives, and what they want to do to us under their Sharia law. You see, with Islamic clerics saying things like this,
Allah is not shy of the truth. We don't say that Islam is here to live, to coexist with lots of different religions and all of us can just hold hands and be friends. This religion was sent to dominate the world. It was sent to be superior, to extinguish the light of every other religion and to be superior to it. We're not shy to say it, and we don't find that to be something that we should be shy to say. That this religion has been sent to dominate, to wipe out, to take out every other religion, to eclipse it, to be superior to it, to have the people leave every religion and to accept Islam. And if that requires fighting to achieve it, then it requires fighting to achieve it. Because the greatest purpose for which jihad was legislated is to make the word of Allah the highest and the word of those who disbelieve the lowest. Allah.
See, with Islamic clerics and their imams saying things like this, do you know what? Perhaps it's us British natives that need the 117 million that the government gave to the Muslim community last year and the extra 10 million that they've just given them a couple of days ago. Maybe we need all that money for ourselves for protection against the Muslim community when they've got their own clerics saying shiz like this. But let's go further. Let's go further with the receipts here. Because when you look at this article published only a couple of months back in 2025, right? This just proves even more, right? The government needs to change their perception in all of this. The Muslims, they don't need protection. We need the protection. Here we go. Exhibit freaking G, right? Over 9,000 crimes reported at UK churches in just 3 years. Think about it. This cleric is saying Islam is here to wipe out, to dominate, to destroy, to overtake every other religion and supplant Islam as the only one that exists in the world. That is literally what he has said there. You think he got a knock on the door from the police for hurty words on the internet? I don't think so. Because the police still don't want to be seen as racist and Islamophobic, even though that wouldn't be the freaking case. But yeah, we need that money for protection for ourselves. Because let's go into the statistics a little bit more. Obtaining figures through Freedom of Information requests, the Countryside Alliance was able to find out that there were over 9,000 records of theft, burglary, criminal damage, vandalism and assault taking place at a church from January 2022 to December 2024. The breakdown, 3,758 thefts and burglaries. Not including 179 lead and metal thefts. 3,237 incidents of criminal damage, vandalism and arson. 1,974 cases of violence. Now, I'm not saying that all of this is from the Muslim community attacking the churches here. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that once in a blue moon, a mosque gets attacked, right? Headline news. But this is happening to our churches every single freaking day, nigh on. And not only is it not getting similar press, similar coverage, being swept under the carpet, and the government's not taking notice of it, and the government isn't giving the Christian community £10 million for protection. The government isn't giving the Christian community £117 million to be spent over 4 years to protect themselves. No. Well, you look at the figures, Christian churches are getting attacked a heck of a lot more than mosques in this country. This is why I'm saying another kind of piece of evidence to prove, as far as I'm concerned, that it's not the Muslim community that's living in fear. It's us. And let me be very clear on something else, right? For those that don't know, I'm an open book. I'm atheist. I don't believe at all. However, I respect other religions and a person's right and freedom to believe in whatever they want. I don't enforce upon them. They don't enforce upon me. Jobs are good 'un, right? Jobs are good 'un. But even as an atheist, I can see the disparity between how the government protects the Islamic community compared to how the government doesn't even make the effort to protect the British community, the Christian community here, at all. Because this is the thing, right? When one mosque gets attacked, we give them £10 million extra on top of the 117 million we gave them last year, right? But when over 9,000 Christian churches in just 3 years get attacked, it is crickets from the government. No money, no nothing, no protection. Like I said, I'm an atheist. However, I recognise and respect that the UK is a Christian country with Christian roots. And I have no intention of changing that and trying to enforce my atheist ethics and philosophy onto this country. No, because I respect that the UK is a Christian country with Christian roots. So, bit of a question here. Why is the Labour dictatorship so quick to protect an alien religion rather than its native religion? Because let's be real here, the native religion in this country is Christianity. Christianity was in this country centuries before Islam came here. Christianity is this country's native religion. Why is the Labour dictatorship so quick to protect an alien religion rather than its native religion? Riddle me that, guys. Riddle me that. You see, maybe we should create a term for this, for the Christian community, right? Because the Muslim community have got Islamophobia, which that term makes no sense whatsoever, right? To have a phobia means that you have to have an extreme fear of something. But that doesn't make sense for a religion, to be fearful of a religion. No. You can criticise it, that doesn't mean that you're fearful of that religion. This is the thing, right? When you criticize Islam, they turn around and say you're Islamophobic. But hang on a minute. Criticizing Islam doesn't mean that you're in fear of that religion. You're just criticizing it. You see, they're even trying to change the English language as well. I'm not having it. But you know what? Let's play their game. Let's play their game, right? Yeah? If the government all day long, right, wants to push down our freaking throats Islamophobia, right? Maybe we should create a similar term for the Christian community here, right? The native religion of the UK. How do you think, right, Starmer would react to the term Christophobia? What do you think? Christophobia, Christophobia, however which way you want to pronounce it. How do you think Starmer would react to that? Would he laugh? Just as much as I laugh at the absurdity of the word Islamophobia? Because, as Lucy White says right here, let's remind Starmer of the actual facts. Because, yeah, he is clearly confused. Let's remind him. Who was responsible for these events? The 7/7 London bombings in 2005. Which, by the way, for those that don't know, I actually have a degree in international relations and security studies. My dissertation was on that event, 7/7 London bombings. Using my knowledge of ethics and philosophy in that. Just as a side note. Who was responsible for the Manchester Arena bombing back in 2017? How about the Borough Market and London Bridge attack in the same year? How about the London Bridge stabbings a couple of years later in 2019? How about the murder of Sir David Amess, MP, in 2021? How about the Southport terrorist murderer back in 2024? I'm not even going to say his name. His name is not fit to pass my lips. He is a monster. How about the monster that killed Jewish people at the Manchester synagogue the past month? Who did that? Who unalived a child at school recently? Who is predominantly behind the grooming gangs that's happening? Based on all the statistics we know, based on the Casey report. Just look at the Casey report. Which religion is predominantly behind all that? This is why I say, before I end this segment and we go on to the next one, this is why I say you can't despise Starmer enough. He is going to regret announcing giving the Muslim community an extra 10 million in funding to protect themselves. Because we already gave them 117 million last year to spend over 4 years. What, has that already been spent? So they need an extra 10 million? What the deuce? And secondly, when we look at the facts, when we look at the events that's happened just in the last 20 years, right? When we look, right, at the statistics of how many mosques are being attacked compared to how many churches are being attacked, right? Who really needs the protection from who here? The facts speak for themselves. The Muslims, they're not living in fear. It's us. We're the ones that are consistently being attacked by extremists from the Muslim community. Yet the government think it's the best idea in the whole wide freaking world to not give the British native Christian community the money to be able to protect ourselves, this, that, and the other. No. We're giving the money to the community where the most attackers are coming from, that are attacking us. Please make that make sense. Pretty, please. he's going to regret it. He's going to regret it. And to coin a phrase, he's backing the wrong horse here. He really, really is. With that being said, let's see what you guys are saying in the live chat before we get on to the final topic for today's Red Alert broadcast. Abartha_X, thank you so much for the super chat saying the phrase, once you pay the Danigold comes to mind. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? And again, special thank you to everyone that's able to send me a couple of pounds super chat. It does help for me to be able to continue with this channel and give you guys the information as to what's really going on here in the UK, my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever, without it being sugar-coated. I'm just going to tell you how it is, and that's it. I'm just an everyday northern lass, and I've just had enough, really, at this point. Have you had enough? Well, I know a lot of you out there have at this point. A lot of you are the same level as me. I've had enough. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Exactly. That imam right there, that Muslim cleric is inciting violence. Let me put it this way to you. How many clips on X or on the internet have you seen of imams and clerics from the Muslim community preaching hate against us? Against the non-Muslims, let's say, right? I've seen a shiz ton. A shiz ton. On the other hand, how many clips have you seen gone viral of Christian priests preaching hate against another community, against another religion? I'll wait for your answer. Right? Yeah, it's the Muslim community that needs to be protected rather than us. All right. Oh, and it's our tax money that's going to their protection. To a community where it's their extremists that are attacking us more than any other community. Do you know what? Sometimes if you don't laugh, you'd freaking cry. This is absolutely backwards. Absolutely backwards. Gibbous says, defend yourselves. Seriously. This is a thing. We can't. We can't. Because the law in this country, right, dictates that. Let me put it this way. As a woman, British lass, if I went out right now, and I would never do this because it's against the law, and I'm not saying this to encourage anyone to do this, just saying it as an example to illustrate my point here. If in an alternate universe, with the same laws and everything that we've got right now in the UK, I walked out of my house and I had a can of pepper spray that you use for dogs, right? So that if a dog came up to you and was trying to attack you, you could use the spray and the dog then goes away, right? Okay. If I had that spray in my bag and I had, let's say, an attacker, any religion, anyone, right? Come up to me and try and attack me, right? If I defended myself with the dog pepper spray, pop quiz for you guys, who would get into trouble? Would it be the attacker that started it in the first place, coming up to me trying to attack me? Or would it be me that, based on my perception, has used reasonable force to protect myself with? Because I'm 5 foot nothing. I'm 5 foot nothing. I weigh about 65 kilo, right? Who would get in trouble? The attacker that's trying to attack me that started it, or myself using reasonable force to defend myself with a dog pepper spray? Answer? Me. I would be the one that gets into trouble. Because they'd get me done on carrying an offensive weapon or whatever. And they'd also get me done on using it. Even though I'd be carrying it for legitimate reasons, not for the intention of attacking anyone else with it, but the intention of protecting myself against dogs. But then they'd do me on, when I am forced to use it in that scenario, they'd do me on using it against someone else, even though I wouldn't have to have used it on someone else in the first place if that someone else didn't think it was the best idea in the whole wide world to attack me in the first place. You see where I'm coming from there? The attacker goes away scot-free. I'm the one then that gets done on it. Yeah. Welcome to the freaking UK. Where our Labour dictatorship is more bothered about giving millions to a Muslim community to protect themselves with, whereas in reality, we're the ones that really need protecting. So yeah, Gibbers, you say protect yourself seriously. We can't. We literally can't. The moment we do, we're the ones that get done for it. So when an attacker comes up, I can't do it. I can't defend myself because I will get done for it. Scary, no? Emily Cheatham says, our dumb Prime Minister has made it so we can only use digital ID or get fined £85. That's appalling. Yeah. He's trying to force it through still, this digital ID. Rupert Lowe is doing amazing work at the moment, trying to rally cross-party support to try and push this back. And he's doing extremely well at the moment. But do you know what? I will resist digital ID till my dying freaking breath at this point. And if I have to pay £85 for the privilege, do you know what? I will do. Take my freaking money. Rather that than submit to digital ID. Not a freaking chance. Not a chance. Let's go through a couple more before we get on to the final topic for today's live stream. Jane says, I love a bacon moment. It needs to take over. Well, speaking of bacon moments, guys, if you guys don't know, some of you have asked for it in my previous community, Steph the Alter Nerd, which is my main channel, guys. And so I've got a merch store, stephthealternerd.com. And Jane's like, I love a bacon moment. It needs to take over. Well, if you do want a bacon moment, then on my store, I've got the Bacon Brigade collection. You've got women's t-shirts, men's t-shirts, hats, beanies for the winter, now that we're in like autumn-winter situation. And there are various designs. We've got Save Our Bacon, Make Bacon Great Again, I Love Bacon, Hail the Pig, Ode Bacon. So yeah, if you want a little bit of a bacon moment, just go on my merch store, have a look. You don't have to buy anything, of course, but have a look at the designs, and yeah, have a little bit of a giggle. I designed these myself using Midjourney AI, just to give you full transparency on that. But yeah, there you go. You want a fun bacon moment? Just go on my website. I'm pretty proud of those designs, to be fair. Abatha X says, Ab Arthur X says, you'd be extremely hard-pressed for a single Christian priest spouting hatred. Indeed. Indeed. Alexander, thank you so much for the £3 super chat. You're helping this channel continue and funding my work, so thank you so much for that. With Mr. Green Blob and a little bit of a... Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to Catus Horribilis for your £5 super chat again, funding my work even further. I appreciate it. No comment. Thank you so much. That's very, very kind of you, mate. Thank you so much. Exactly. Unfortunately, it would be you, Steph. It would be you in trouble. Yeah. That is the state of the UK now. where we can't even defend ourselves because we're the ones that are going to be in trouble for defending ourselves. Yeah. The attackers have more rights than us. The law has to change, it really does. But you know what also has changed? The Deputy Prime Minister. So we all know, going on to the third and final segment for today's Red Alert broadcast. So, yeah, we know that Angela Rayner had to resign as Deputy Prime Minister. Yeah, she's called Three Pads Rayner for a reason now, right, guys? But yeah, the dog whistler is back. Labour have learned absolutely naff all. Lucy Powell is now our new Deputy Prime Minister. Now, before we get into the final segment, again, the usual disclaimer, do your own research, come to your own conclusions, and I'm not inciting hatred to anyone or particular group, religion, etc. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is our new Deputy Prime Minister. Labour have absolutely learned naff all, right? This is the minister that made that dog whistle comment a couple of months back about grooming gangs. And for those that have forgotten what she said, oh, let me remind you right now.
Anybody saw the documentary on Channel 4 about rape gangs over
No,
this?
we want to blow that little trumpet
No,
now, do we? Yeah, okay.
There was a real issue.
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we? Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you our new Deputy Prime Minister right there. Yup. Now, Starmer's reaction to her being voted in as our new Deputy Prime Minister is all kinds of hypocrisy and hilarity. And I'll explain to you right now. So let's go to his reaction first and foremost, and then I'm going to show you the receipt, okay? So Starmer reacted saying, "Congratulations to Lucy M. Powell, Labour's newly elected deputy leader. Lucy has always been a proud defender of Labour values." And that is exactly what we need in this moment. Together, we will fight for Britain, for decency, and for national renewal. So, if Keir Starmer thinks that Lucy has always been a proud defender of Labour values, right? And that she's a good person to work together to fight for Britain, for decency and national renewal, then on the heels of her saying that infamous dog whistle quote now, why did he sack her only last month after those dog whistle comments? And make no bones about it, he sacked her. When he did that reshuffle of the cabinet, he made sure that one of the first people to go was the then leader of the House, Lucy Powell. As the Spectator says right here, she wasn't particularly in the Prime Minister's good books. Lucy Powell ruffled feathers when she said the issues of grooming gangs was a dog whistle. So last month, Starmer sacks her basically as leader of the House. This month, she gets elected as new deputy leader. And Starmer now has done a 180 and is like, Lucy's always been a proud defender of Labour values. Always been a proud defender of Labour values, except when she made that dog whistle comment that led to Starmer sacking her as leader of the House. Yeah, make that make sense, guys. You see, this is a fact that your favourite councillor, Susan Hall, actually mentioned when she body slammed Starmer with her post right here on X. You sacked her. So, is she good? As Starmer is making out in his congratulatory post on X? Or was he wrong in sacking her last month in the wake of her dog whistle comments? Susan Hall then finishes saying, mind you, all Labour politicians should be sacked in my view. So yeah, I agree. Now, the reactions to Lucy Powell being the new Deputy Prime Minister, they've been coming in thick and fast. So let's go through them. Here is the reaction from Samantha Smith. Dear Lucy Powell, MP, you think Pakistani rape gangs are a dog whistle? Well, I was intimately abused from 5 years old, and it's politicians like you that are the reason, like little girls like me are still being RAPD, exploited and unalived across the country. Again, apologies for me having to change some of the words here, but it's because of YouTube Human Reviewer. I hope you guys understand. She then says, in my hometown, those in power dismissed victims as troublemakers. I don't even want to say that. And white SLAGS. They shamed and intimidated little girls like me into silence. They accused us of lying or putting ourselves in risky situations or even wanted to be RAPD. They stood by and did nothing while young girls were being brutally abused. And as many other girls systematically groomed in Telford have testified, I was made to feel as though I was to blame. The system criminalised the victims rather than going after the perpetrators, and they're still doing that to this day. I remember being asked by a detective whether I consented at any point to this activity and told by a social worker that my actions had led me to where I was today, basically victim blaming, right? All the while, the Labour-led council tried to block an independent inquiry into CSE for years, and their council leader, now the MP for Telford, along with 10 other powerful local men, even wrote a letter to the Home Secretary saying they felt an inquiry would be unnecessary. Just as dismissive as our new Labour Deputy Prime Minister turning round and essentially saying calling out the predominantly Muslim Pakistani rape gangs is a dog whistle. Yeah. In Rotherham, Rochdale and elsewhere, victims were continually swept aside by those in positions of power as if they chose this lifestyle. The attitudes that social workers, local services, authorities had towards children was so skewed and so deeply unprofessional, it broke me. These are not crimes of the past. It's happening to this day. It isn't enough to have empty words and hollow promises. CSE is not a dog whistle. It is a national epidemic. Our trauma isn't a dog whistle or a trumpet to blow against the Labour Party. It's the harrowing reality of the institutional blindness and contempt that allowed little girls to be sacrificed at the altar of political correctness, while politicians sneered and branded us troublemakers and attention seekers for daring to want justice. Shame on you, Lucy Powell. Shame on Labour. Shame on all of them. Yeah. And shame on Labour for voting the likes of freaking Lucy Powell to be the Deputy Prime Minister. What the hell is this nonsense? Let's get on to this reaction from Nick Dixon. In the Labour Party, you can call concern over these gangs a dog whistle, then become deputy leader a few months later. This is why they are so despised and on the verge of destruction. Not getting any arguments from me. Here we've got Nick Buckley, MBE, saying she doesn't know what a woman is and thinks discussing the grooming gangs is racist. Well done, Labour. Just when we thought you couldn't get any worse, you do. Yeah. And here we've got Kemi Badenoch says, never forget, this is the woman who said that calling for the grooming gangs inquiry was a dog whistle. Now she's the deputy leader of the Labour Party. It's a shameful and a testament to the total weakness of Keir Starmer. And check out this clip that the Conservatives uploaded to X. It's just less than 2 minutes long. Let's go.
This is Lucy Powell.
She's just been elected as Labour's new deputy leader. But who is she? She was in favour of taking the winter fuel payment from pensioners. It's an incredibly difficult thing to do, which we had to do, she says. If we hadn't taken that action, we'd have seen the run on the pound. She tried to get Jeremy Corbyn elected as Prime Minister. Get Jeremy Corbyn as our Prime Minister, she says. And then the clapping. Only to ditch him and then change her mind and back in again. I did get it wrong about Jeremy Corbyn. I've said that. And here's what she said about campaigners calling for an inquiry into the gangs. We want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Yeah. Let's get that dog whistle out. Yeah, she says. Lucy Powell has been imposed on Keir Starmer by the left-wing Labour membership. He doesn't want her. He fired her 2 months ago. She was the only member of the cabinet he had the courage to remove during his shambolic reshuffle. But now she's back. And because Keir Starmer doesn't have a plan or the backbone to stand up for our country, she will push through policies that will make our economy even worse. She says, I know how the government works. I know how to make an influence there. She'll be the one calling the shots. She wants to scrap the 2-child limit and hand out unlimited welfare payments, wrecking our economy. Lift the 2-child benefit cap, she says, as a matter of urgency. It's something that I've made central to my campaign. And she's backed by the unions, the same ones pressuring Labour to spend billions more on massive pay hikes. Britain deserves better. Now, I had to mute that and read out the captions myself because of the background music. Sometimes playing background music on a clip, it can create like a copyright claim. So got to be careful with that, guys. I hope you understand. But for all the dislike that I have to the Conservative Party, because I voted Conservative my whole life. Last year was the first time I didn't vote Conservative. I didn't vote for Labour either. I voted for Reform. Now I'm voting for Advance UK. But anyway, no matter how much I dislike the Conservative Party and how much I feel the Conservative Party has absolutely betrayed this country just as much as the Labour Party has, just in a different way, right? They're right in this clip and what they say here. You see, having Lucy Powell, this person, right, now as our Deputy Prime Minister, ultimately means that Labour can no longer, with a straight face, say that they're on the side of the victims and survivors of grooming gangs. Because now they've got a Deputy Prime Minister that has turned round and said that essentially the victims and survivors of grooming gangs, them calling for an inquiry is nothing more than dog whistling and blowing the trumpet. Minimising, diminishing, dehumanising the victims and survivors of grooming gangs by saying that. She said that only a month or two ago. Now she's our Deputy Prime Minister. This is the reality that we're living in the UK at the moment. It's an absolute joke of a freaking country. You see, as far as I'm concerned, right, and probably a lot of you guys are concerned watching, Labour has always lied, right, when they say that they're on the side of victims and survivors of grooming gangs, right? They've always lied. But now, promoting, of all of them, Lucy freaking dog whistle Powell, right, as Deputy Prime Minister, that's the final nail in their coffin. For any credibility, right? They have no credibility left when they turn around and they say that they're on the side of victims and survivors of grooming gangs. They can't say that anymore at all. That is done. That narrative from the Labour dictatorship is done. Whilst their Prime Minister is Lucy dog whistle freaking Powell, they cannot say now that they're on the side of victims and survivors of grooming gangs. Not a freaking chance in hell. Not a chance in hell. Here, before I get to your comments in the live, we've got Matt Vickers right here saying, unbelievable, Labour just picked Lucy Powell to be their new deputy leader. The same Lucy Powell who smeared those who asked questions about the gangs as using a dog whistle. Keir Starmer needs to grow a backbone and listen to the victims of these horrific crimes. Yeah. He needs to grow a backbone. He needs to resign. He needs to dissolve Parliament. And we need an emergency general election. Because he is the worst Prime Minister on record. His popularity rate is record low. The distrust in the Labour dictatorship is at a record high. And when you look at the polls, if we had a general election today, Labour would be absolutely decimated. They'd pretty much go extinct. They'd lose. So they can't even claim that they've got the public mandate anymore because they really don't. Even though they're lying through the back teeth and they're still trying to push that narrative onto us, I'm not going to fall for it, are you? But now we have Lucy Dog Whistle Powell as our new Deputy Prime Minister. All happening at the same time, right? When we're finding out how the government has caused essentially the nigh-on collapse of the National Inquiry into grooming gangs by trying to water the stuff down. This is insane. Insane. That's the state of the UK at the moment, though. With that being said, I'm going to go through a few of your comments in the live chat before we end today's Red Alert broadcast. So anyone that sends a super chat, your chats are guaranteed to be read. Anyone else, I'll pick and choose what stands out to me, but your chats are not guaranteed to be read, so please do bear that in mind. Please do consider, if you can, sending a super chat my way to help fund the work that I'm doing here on this channel at the moment. Thanks to everyone that's been able to do that so far. With that being said, let's get into the comments. Head mod. Project Metal Music is like, I love bacon. Me too. I'd go like this. I love bacon. I love bacon. I have never professed to being good at karaoke, and I will not do so even now. But yeah, that's the tune that's in my head now, thanks to your comment. So, thanks, Head Mod. Appreciate your face. Jen J says, you get arrested for saying you love bacon. I know. I did a video on that. I saw the clip. That's why on my merch store, I actually have the Bacon Brigade collection now with various bacon-fied designs, right, for T-shirts, hats and beanies. So I think it's absolute piss take that you can get arrested now just for saying that you love bacon. Again, what kind of nonsense is this? There you go. See what else you guys are saying. Hi, Steph. Love the channel, but it's not a one-off payment. Stephen Braddock says. Starmer says if you don't have a mobile phone, you'll have to pay £85 every time you need to prove who you are if you refuse digital ID. Not a problem. I'll pay it every single time. Not a problem. This is the thing, right? He's trying to make it out that we would have to prove our ID every single day. But we don't. Think about it this way. When was the last time you had to prove yourself with ID? And then going one step further, before that, when was the last time you had to prove your ID? We don't have to prove our ID multiple times a day. There'll be once in a blue moon that we have to prove our ID. And every time I've got to do that, for once in a blue moon, do you know what? Take the 85 quid. I am not going to submit to digital ID. To my dying breath, I will fight against this as much as I personally can. Decide on what you guys want to do, right? Okay? By saying what I'm going to do, it's not a call to action for anyone else to follow me, okay? Let me be very clear on that. That's personally what I'm going to do. What are you guys going to do? Are you going to do that? Are you going to go for digital ID? Either way. Whatever, right? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Stephen Jenner. Oh, it made me laugh. Women, carry a pack of Danish bacon in your handbag, safety first. Do you know what, though? This is the thing with what I said earlier on. When we defend ourselves, we're the ones that get done, not the actual attacker, right? And the same thing would apply. If I had, let's say, an alternate universe, but living under the same law, If I had in my bag a pack of bacon, right? And let's say it was opened, and I had an attacker that, for whatever reason, okay, doesn't like bacon, yeah? And I take a rasher of bacon out, and I use it to slap him across the face with. I slap him with bacon across the face, okay? Guess who gets done? Yeah, yours truly. Not the attacker trying to do me harm, but me trying to defend myself with a slice of bacon. I'd still get done for it, even with bacon. Hilarious, right? But that's the world that we live in. When we live in a country where saying, I love bacon, outside of a building site where the mosque isn't even built yet, right? Where saying that in that scenario gets you arrested, you don't think that you're not gonna get done for defending yourself with a slice of bacon against an attacker that, for whatever reason, never mind the religion or all, doesn't like bacon. Come on. Come on. It's ridiculous, but that's the country we're living in. Welcome to the freaking UK, guys. General Scott, oh General, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Appreciate your face, mate. Thank you so much, honey. Again, thank you so much to everyone that's able to send a super chat during this Red Alert broadcast. It funds the work that I'm doing here on Political Nerds and allows me to do even more research and give you even more of the news of what's really going on here in the UK without sugarcoating shiz, right? We don't sugarcoat shiz. We're just not in that game whatsoever. James Avery says, is it true that the witnesses were not allowed to mention the ethnicity of the gangs? They were discouraged from doing so based on the evidence that's out there. And I believe it. I believe they were discouraged in doing so because based on the evidence that's out there, they tried to water down the inquiry to try and include other forms of CSE and try and turn around and try and ignore the fact that grooming gangs is predominantly the Muslim Pakistani community that's behind them. Yeah. Yeah. It's the government yet again turning around and saying 2 + 2 = 5. Trust me, bro. As ever, right? Whenever anyone, especially the freaking government, turns around and says, trust me, bro. Firstly, don't freaking trust them. Secondly, run in the opposite direction as fast as you can freaking go. Trust me, bro. Yeah, right. I'd sooner trust, right, a pig dressed in a freaking tutu with a rainbow on its sodding head than I would Keir freaking Starmer turning around and saying, trust me, bro. There you go. Catus Horribilis. Hey up. What? I love Steph, but sadly this experience on here today has pissed me right off. Why? Totally confusing. The messages get ignored and the super chat doesn't work. Well, firstly, thank you so much for even considering sending a super chat to me and helping funding the work that I'm doing here on Political Nerds. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. But if the super chat doesn't work, that's a YouTube thing, firstly. That's not a me thing. So, you know, if you want to support your other favourite creators on the platform with super chats, just have a quick word with YouTube first and find out why there's an issue. Because again, that's on YouTube. That's not me. And secondly, messages aren't getting ignored. Hi. I've been pulling from your messages in the live chat throughout this Red Alert broadcast. My emphasis, though, with this Red Alert broadcast, as it is with all these broadcasts, is to give you the information, give you the research that I've been able to work on behind the scenes and set up for you guys. And then in between, you know, the segment, so at the end of the story, then I'll dive into the live chat and see what you guys are saying. And let me also be clear on something else. I've been on YouTube now as a content creator for over 5 years. And from my perspective, right, the majority of YouTubers that I watch, right, and no shade, no tea, no shade, no drama, right? It's just how they work it, and that's fine. Majority of YouTubers that I watch, they just focus on the super chats and that's it, right? If someone doesn't send a super chat in, they're not read out. I'm different. Of course, super chats are guaranteed to be read. But I also try and read out some of the, for want of a better phrase, non-super chats as well. Because those that are watching and also chatting in the live chat are just as important. And should be just as much as I can anyway, right? Unfortunately, I can't read everyone's chat. I wish I could, but I can't. It's impossible. But I just pick and choose the ones that stand out to me. So, for anyone that's watching, please don't be offended if for some reason I miss your chat, your non-super chat, for want of a better phrase. Don't be offended. It's just a situation. Apologies for that, right? So there we go. But Catus Horribilis, thank you so much for bringing it to my attention anyway, and for your comment, and for watching, and for supporting this channel and this community just by tuning in anyway and interacting in the live chat. I really do appreciate that. So thank you so much. Head mod is going to work. Enjoy, mate. Enjoy. The ledge himself, David March. Hey up, mate. Hey, Steph. You asked to make it make sense. We've always been at war with Eurasia. They are liquidating the UK on purpose. Yeah. I definitely believe that Davos and the World Economic Forum definitely have a hand in this. Definitely. To the destruction of the UK. To what end, though? To what end? That's a scary question, right? Let's see what else you guys are saying. Jane says, when I went to Wimbledon, that was the last time I had to prove my ID. And this is the thing, right? Proving your ID. Just have your driving license with you. Your passport. Something with your name and picture on that's on an official document. Yeah, Starmer's trying to make out that if you don't have digital ID, then you'll be paying through the nose £85 a shiz ton of times to prove your ID. Think about it. Think about it. That's scaremongering. That's scaremongering. When was the last time you had to prove your ID? Before that, then, when was the last time you had to prove your ID? It's once in a blue moon. I'm happy to forgo digital ID and once in a blue moon have to pay 85 quid for the privilege of being free. I'm happy with that. When it comes to freedom, from an ideological perspective, let's say, when it comes to freedom, there is no price. I hope that makes sense. Stephen Braddock says, carry bacon in your bag, but frozen bacon, it hits harder. I love it. I just have this image right now, right, of like a rasher of bacon that's just floppy and just going like that. It's just a funny little thing that I've got in my head. Obviously, I'm not going to do it. Let me be real here. You know, for the hurty word police out there. Jokes. You numbnuts. But yeah. This is funny too. Very, very funny too. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Oh, Dan, thank you so much. Love Steph's vibe. Her streams are great. Keep being you and stay safe. Thank you. Hope you stay safe as well, mate. Catus Horribliss. Oh, thank you so much for the £10 super chat. I'm glad you were able to sort that out. Hopefully you shouldn't have any issues wanting to send super chats to other creators that you love watching here on YouTube as well. Steph, do you think the one in, one out sounds like the punchline to a joke about a sausage-obsessed politician and 3 Ukrainian rent boys getting banged up for arson? Now, of course, we're not talking about anyone in particular here. Just saying. If anyone thinks we are, it's alleged. Yeah, this whole one in, one out terminology, it sounds dodgy anyway, to say the least. Even more dodgy when you realise that there was an article that came out last week that one of the illegal immigrants that we deported back to France on the one in, one out scheme, yeah, he just hopped onto a dinghy and just came straight back to the UK. Again, if you didn't laugh, you'd freaking cry. I promise you that right now, guys. Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to the freaking UK. Catus Horribliss, thank you so much for that very kind super chat there, helping me to continue my work here on this channel. Appreciate it. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Let's see. SG Experiment says you can't put a price on freedom. Exactly. Hashman says, seen a video on this. People actually apply for stuff several times a year, and at £85 a pop, a lot of people will not be able to afford it and take Starmer's easy route. This will force people. Hashman, what are you talking about? And I don't mean that to be facetious. What I mean is, when you say people actually apply for stuff several times a year, what are people applying for several times a year that requires ID? That's what I mean when I'm asking what are you talking about? Because let me put it this way to you. The only time I've had to use my ID this year is when I've used my passport to go visit my family in Italy. Or go on holiday, basically. This year, I have not had to apply for anything where I've had to provide my ID. I haven't. Now, there are things that people do have to apply for where ID is required, right? Like opening up a new bank account, for example. Or getting a new mobile phone contract. ID is required for that, right? Things of that nature. But let me put it this way to you guys. Do you, generally speaking, apply for multiple mobile phone contracts a year? No. Do you open multiple bank accounts a year? Generally speaking, I would hazard a guess, no. Generally speaking, in life, as adults, we set everything up where our IDs are required right at the beginning, but then that's it. It then ticks on. Whatever we've applied for, that's it. The ID's been shown once and that's it. Never again, done and dusted. Until it's renewal time. If certain aspects of what you've applied for requires a renewal. But then it's renewed in what? 2, 3 years, whatever. Let me put it this way to you. In my experience, I am not requiring ID multiple times a year to apply for something. It's once in a blue moon. Once in a blue moon. Him saying it's going to cost £85 a pop if you don't have digital ID is scaremongering, because he's trying to make out that we're going to have to pay this so many times a year because we need ID to prove ourselves so many times a year for it, to apply for stuff. Nah. No. It's scaremongering. I'm telling you, it's scaremongering, Hashman. I'll go through a couple more comments before we end today's live stream. See. I love this. Jane, Megsy will be making bacon spread next. For those that follow me on my main channel, Steph the Alter Nerd, you'll get this. Now, I'd be interested in that, actually, to be fair. I really would. Let me leave it with this comment right here from Jenny Sally saying, whatever we stand up now will determine our future. Yeah. I'm not going to sleepwalk into a 1984 nightmare. I'm not going to sleepwalk into an Orwellian nightmare. Not a chance. I'm going to fight it every step I can. Legally, peacefully, democratically. Using my human right of freedom of speech and freedom to express myself. As long as I'm not inciting hatred to anyone, or particular group, religion, etc., and I'm not, I'm just providing you guys what's out there, what's being said, and my own opinions, which I'm allowed to do. Then yeah, I'm going to continue doing that, continue my work here at Political Nerds to fight every step of the way to stop Starmer's wet dream of an Orwellian nightmare becoming fully realised in this country. It's as simple as that. I am done being silent. I'm done being scared into silence. The time is now to peacefully speak up against what is going on. That's what I'm doing. What do you guys want to do? With that being said, that's it for today's Red Alert broadcast. Special thank you to everyone that's joined live for this particular broadcast. Thank you so much to everyone that's been able to send some super chats my way to help continue funding me and this work that I'm doing here on this channel. Thank you so much to everyone that's kept me company in the live chat. For those that have liked this stream, subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much. More content coming tomorrow. What do I have for you guys? Well, let me give you the main event. Oh, I got a story for you about Sadiq Khan, the grooming gangs, and the research that I've done. Oh, we're going to blow that sky high. I'm going to open up my research to you tomorrow in regards to all of that mess and so much more. So if you haven't done so already, do make sure you are subscribed to join our Alter Nerd tribe here at Political Nerds on YouTube. If you're watching on X, make sure you're following me at Steph Alter Nerd for more unfortunate dealings that's going on in the UK at the moment. Thank you so much to everyone, though, that's tuned in today. Appreciate all your faces. Till the next time, you guys. Laters.